evening. This is BelGeode, and we are back with some more Explain 11 in virtual reality. Howdy, folks, and we are back here in Explain 11. And on this rather dreary morning, we are in the southern portion of Peru. Why are we here? Well, I intend to show to you the latest from the mountain maestros. Frank Dianese and Fabio Bellini have created Machu Picchu, and we are actually at the main airport in the Machu Picchu area. So, as you can see, there's not much to this place, but then we're high up in the mountains here. I think we're at like 5,000, yep, 5,500 feet. So, yeah, we don't expect there to be much here. However, we're going to view the Incan ruins of Machu Picchu, which some say is the lost city of the Incas, but it's actually more like a citadel or royal estate or something along those lines. I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get closer to it. Now, you may have noticed I am in a bird that I have not shown you for a very long time. This is the Nimbus Simulations UH-1H Huey, the venerable Huey. I think the last time that I showed this was when it had first been released, and the main reason why I'm going back to it this time around instead of any of the other helos that I've been showing you recently, this one is due for an update. I don't know if the update will go live by the time you see this video, but you can expect version 1.50 to be coming really soon. And first off, huge thank you to Nimbus Simulations for the release candidate version to use in this preview of the upcoming changes. And I'm actually going to take a little moment here before we do our startup just to kind of go over some of the things that you may or may not recall about this helicopter. So, the first thing that we're going to start with is what's hanging over my head right there. And no, I don't mean the X Pad, I mean this little guy right here. This is the pop-up menu. If you recall, this helicopter has a pop-up menu that will allow you to click on certain windows to change certain parameters within the helicopter. For example, we've got a checklist here. And yes, it does go through all the pages. Let me move it from my face there so you can see it a little better. So we have before engine start, we have starting engine, before landing, so on and so forth. Everything that you need to properly work the Huey. And then we've got our maintenance page here. The maintenance page is one of the main features of this helicopter, even though you can set it as I have for the purposes of this video, always like new. If you uncheck that, you will incur wear and tear on your Huey as you fly it. And it does remember, it does persist as you go on. So eventually you're going to need to open this up and service some of the parts and add fluids and so on and so forth. So that's a pretty cool feature that you don't find in a lot of aircraft, whether X-plane or otherwise. And then there's this little guy right here. I'm going to keep him in the center of my view, but of course I'm talking, so it's going to be a little bit jittery. This is the controls window, and those of you who use the DCS Huey are probably familiar with this. Here's how it works. Pretty straightforward. Let's say I move the cyclic forward. You can see a little pink diamond. Just move forward. Same thing with moving back or moving left or right. Pedals, same story. And collective. So, why is this useful? Well, similar to the DCS version, if you are new to the Huey, then you can get an idea as to where your controls are and eventually develop that muscle memory and that habit when it comes to flying this thing. That's what this is useful for. In addition to which, the new version of this Huey will also include force trim. Now, I'm probably not going to show you how the force trim works, but it's pretty much the same as the DCS Huey. So if you're familiar with force trim there, it works the same here, and this will help you with that as well. All right, let's close that out. So CP stands for co-pilot. You may have noticed that I do have a co-pilot here, and he will actually take over the flight. You can set him to autopilot straight ahead, or you can have him orbit to the left or orbit to the right. And then when you're done having him fly the aircraft, you can take control again. So pretty cool stuff there. And then we've got the weight and balance window. Now, the weight and balance window is one of my favorites because that's where you can determine who's in your aircraft and whether or not you can see them. So I always keep the pilot inside turned off. Otherwise, the face of the pilot is literally in front of my face, and I don't recommend that. But outside, you can keep all the models there, and inside, you can keep the rest of the guys. You'll notice that I have some guys in the back there. There's 2 guys per seat. And if I wanted to, I can click on any of these seats and it will actually dump someone in there and add their weight to the helo. You can also use this to refuel if you so desire, if you don't want to go back to the main X-Plane menu. All right, and then the final thing is the doors and accessories panel. Now, you may notice that I currently have my pilot side door open. Right there it says close. If you click it, it will close the door. Or you can do it this way by simply clicking on the door itself if you're in VR. I'll leave that up to your taste as to which you want to do. You can do the same thing with the back doors. You can close them. You could remove them altogether if you wanted to. And you can also add and remove the guns. Now, a couple of things that you'll notice on the bottom. Radar altimeter has been installed in this, and this is it right here. We'll use that as part of our startup. The ground dust, of course, is the effect that adds the rotor wash. You can turn that off if you really don't like seeing it. I'm not sure why you'd want to. It's actually pretty cool. And then the rotor demo mode. Since a number of folks complained that when they see it on X-Plane, the rotors appear looking odd, like they look like they're stopped while you're in the middle of flight, this apparently will help with that. Personally, not something I'm going to mess with because I'm okay with the way the rotors look. Plus, I'm recording a video which is going to make it look weird anyway. All right, so we're going to put this little guy up here. And I should also call attention to the fact that those same things are duplicated here. So these little things that I'm looking at right now are exactly the same as those. So if you don't feel like having this up in front of you, you can simply click them on the pedestal and it'll do the same thing. All right, let's take a look at our flight plan really quick before we go ahead and get this bird started up. Let me see if I can put this someplace where it's not going to interfere with my view of the lovely scenery outside. And we'll go show map. Okay, so as you can see, the white patches are clouds everywhere. And in some cases, there is also rain. As you can see, it's, yeah, pretty dismal out. There are some patches of sunshine, and hopefully that will work in our favor as we're making our way to Machu Picchu. We, however, are right here. All of these Icao codes are fictional Icao codes. That is Frank's modus operandi. He'll create little fictional helipads and airports for you to explore the scenery. So this is the main airport where we are right now. We're actually going to follow the mountain valley and we're going to go behind Machu Picchu and then come around the front end and land at the helipad that is right at the ruins. So that's this guy right here. And then once we're done with that, there's another little mountain village that I want to show you, and that is off to the right there. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get closer to it. However, none of that's going to happen unless we get the helicopter started. So if you're familiar with DCS, the procedure to start up this helicopter is pretty much exactly the same. And for me, it always begins with turning on all of the lights because I'm weird like that. So yeah, get all our lights on. All right. And basically, I'm just twisting my arm with the touch controller to do that. You can, of course, use the mouse if you so prefer. I generally don't use the mouse when it comes to X-Plane. All right, so we'll set our position lights to steady, anti-collision lights to on. AC phase is already on, inverter is off. Generator, let's get you on, and we'll close you up, and we'll turn on the battery. Okay, now for those of you who are familiar with DCS, you will realize something. The low RPM warning is not going off. Well, I have it turned off. So we're not going to hear the low RPM warning just yet. Once we actually get the helo started, I will put it to its on position and it'll stay there. But the reason why I do that, there is currently a little bug with this RC version, which hopefully will be fixed by the time you actually get the update in your hands, where the low RPM warning does tend to sound if the battery is off. So just be forewarned, that will be fixed by the time you get your hands on this bird. However, that's why I have it turned off right now. All right, so let's get our other stuff up. So hydraulics and force trim switch, of course. We'll need our main fuel switch, so we'll turn that on. And while we're at it, we will get our throttle all the way open and then put it back to idle in preparation for the engine start. And I think that's everything we need to do to get our engine started. Let me just do a quick caution lights test here. Okay, everything's lit up, and that switch should reset itself in a moment. There we go. We'll do a fire test here. Yep, everything's looking good. And we can actually get our radios on. So let me just do that real quick. I don't think there's any ATC at this airport, so it's really not that critical for me to have these on. But since I like to follow the same procedures that I do in DCS, then we're going to try and keep these on. Some of these are a little sensitive, you'll notice. There we go. All right, finally got that one. And we'll turn this to channel 3. I'm not going to worry about the back panel here. That is for the weapons and armament, so that's our gunners and so on and so forth. We're going to leave that off. We're not going to worry about that. Usually I won't turn this on either, but I will turn on the FM radio, so we'll keep that there. All right, so to start this bird, this is kind of important. The way the Huey works, you have to hold down a starter switch. You could either bind a keybind to that, and since X-Plane allows you to save your control layout, you could put it like on your trigger for your HOTAS, or you could make it a button on your HOTAS. If you do not want to do that, another alternative you have is this little click spot right here. Basically, you just hold this click spot down, and pretty much for about 40-50 seconds, you're going to watch the gas producer gauge. Once it gets past 10%, the rotor will start spinning the way it normally should. Right now, it's just kind of freewheeling, so you can see it slowly moving around somewhere. And once you get past 40%, you can let go of the starter. So that is what we're going to do right now. We're going to click on this, hold it down. You notice everything dims as the battery starts to drain, and you can start to hear the turbines coming to life. So we're just past 10, so the rotor should now pick up speed. There it goes. And we're past 20. Everything's going to start shaking. That's probably one of the best things about this Huey is the shakes and the rattles. This is pretty much what a Huey does. So well done. Well done. All right, we're past 40, so we can let go of the starter switch now. And now that we have that done, let's get our inverter on, which will get all of our electrical systems up and running. So the first thing I like to set is my radar altimeter. So I'm going to set that now to about 100 feet off the deck, and you'll notice a little amber light indicating we are too low. That's fine. That'll go away in a moment. The other thing that I like to do is make sure that my compass and my HSI are lined up, and it looks like they are. Yes, they're pointing in the same direction. We should also check our altimeter. I happen to know that the barometer is 29.86 today, so we are exactly where we need to be. And we'll do a quick time check. It is currently 7:16. Wow, I've talked for 16 minutes already. Holy crap. Well, it is a BelGeode video, folks. You know how it works here. All right, so now that everything is pretty much good to go, we can increase our throttle. And I actually have that bound to a slider on my Cytec X52. So we're going to wait until everything goes into the green. We're slowly bringing up our RPMs. You'll notice that the low RPM indicator goes away. And now that it's completely gone, we can turn on the low RPM horn. So there we go. All right, we are almost ready to go. A couple more things we need to do. First off, we need to turn our gen from standby, or from start gen to standby gen. And we will also need to set our lights. So right now they're currently at steady. We're going to put them to flash. There we go. It's not currently raining, so I don't think we're going to need our wipers just yet. So we'll leave those off. But we will get our landing light out. And we'll turn that on. And we'll leave the light on for the duration of the flight. Okay, so we seem to be pointing in the correct direction here, and we're pretty much set for takeoff. So when we take off, there's a little village just over the cliff there that we will see. Once we reach that village, we're going to take a right, and we're going to go basically following the Urubamba River, which will lead us to Machu Picchu. All right, so with all of that having been done, let's go to the outside view for this takeoff, and we'll get started. Alright, so there we can see the little village that Frank and Fabio created here. I don't know if this is a fictional village or if there really is a place like this. However, here is the Urubamba River, so we're going to make our right turn here. And I absolutely love the blade slap sound that this Huey has. A lot of the sounds are really, really cool for this thing, so kudos to Nimbus Simulations for creating that. Alright, so this is going to be a pretty winding path here, and as you can see, the clouds are pretty much everywhere. So at some point in time, we're going to need to break through all of this. And now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I should have turned on the wipers. I'll probably do that in a second here. Let me get around this bend and find something that's a little bit more of a straightaway here before we even attempt to do something like that. Alright, yes, this looks like it'll work nicely. So let me point us in the right direction here. And we do have autopilot capabilities here, so we need to make sure that our pedals are centered before we hit the autopilot. And right there should be good. Okay, so real quick, we're going to want to get the wipers on. So we'll turn that to the left. There we go. All right, so there we go. We got wipers. Now, it is important to note, as I take the autopilot off here, that there is no water droplet effect on the windshield currently. Now, I did speak to the developer about that, and they are planning on adding some kind of rain effect to this. However, they want to make sure that it works with everything, basically. And last time I checked, the live rain feature, which is probably the most popular and most realistic looking rain feature, does not 100% work yet in VR, and let alone with VULKAN. So unless something's changed, that still is an issue that needs to be addressed. Now, I did also mention to the developer that maybe they might want to talk to Joshua Cowan from Cowan Sim, you know, the maker of the 222 that I showed you the last time on Explain. That rain feature might be a cool thing to add. So I don't know if the two of them can work on something and maybe help each other out. But that would be really cool to see. All right, but with that having been said, the rain is only going to be temporary. We have more important matters to concern ourselves with, like perhaps finding a way over these clouds that doesn't involve smacking into the side of a mountain. check our map here. Okay, so we're gonna make this left here, and normally if the sky was clear, up there should be Machu Picchu. However, yeah, about that. So I'm gonna see if I can keep us below the cloud deck here, because X-Plane is notorious for whiting everything out once you get even remotely close to a cloud. But we will go back to the outside view as we meander our way through this river valley here. Alrighty folks, we're about halfway around the bend here. We're going to keep bringing it around. However, as you can see, our altitude is about 6,600 feet and those clouds are getting awful close. I don't see a break in the cloud cover at all. So yeah, we may just have to punch through these clouds. This is going to get interesting. Of course, I blame myself because I set up this weather pattern myself and I wanted it to be dramatic. This is what I get, right? Okay, as soon as we come around this bend, we should be facing Machu Picchu. So at this point in time, I'm just going to give it some collective and hope for the best. Holy crap, we made it. Woo! Wow. Okay, well that was a little bit sketchy there, but as you can see straight ahead of us, this is Machu Picchu. Wow, and that is actually pretty amazing. Now, when this scenery first came out a couple of weeks ago, there was a bad FPS issue. It still does lose FPS a little bit, but it's not too terrible. There was a fix that was introduced, which should be available now, that will prevent that from happening. It almost felt like it was a memory leak. But we're going to take a look at the ruins here. And just to remind you, this is a citadel. So at one point in time, it was actually a palace for royalty in the Incan community. And it is now a bona fide historic site. As of 1981, sees quite a great many visitors. I don't have the hard numbers, but I know a lot of people have checked it out. I, of course, have not because, well, it's me. When am I going to find time to travel to Peru? But as you no doubt saw, there is a helipad there, so we're going to attempt to land on that. And that should be interesting. All right, so let's swing ourselves around. We'll start lowering some forward airspeed here, and I think we need to land perpendicular to where we are right now. So I'm going to go nose up a bit, collective down, and we'll start bringing her in. So yeah, pretty good stuff here. You can see the little terraced areas that they used for farming. That was all handmade, and bear in mind, this thing was allegedly built around 1400, I guess 1450, I think was the actual year, or around that period in time when it was completed. So yeah, not too bad for old architecture. Alright, now we're coming down, looking good, looking good. Let's see if we can get her right on H. Should be in ground effect now, which will act as a cushion for us. And right about there. Whew! A little bouncy, but hey, we're down. Welcome to Machu Picchu. Alright, so here's what we're going to do, folks. We're going to go outside. We're going to check out the scenery. So let me open us up here, and we'll teleport out. And look at that. Wow. Wow, that is pretty incredible. All right, let's check out this little sign over here, because I'm kind of curious as to what that is. This is pretty cool. So this looks like the sign that is actually there at the site. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce a lot of this stuff, because I'm pretty sure I will butcher it. But suffice to say, that looks pretty cool. Although, if there is one thing that I could mention to Frank and Fabio, you notice little tops of the shrubbery there. Maybe you might want to put a bush here just to kind of play the part, so to speak. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's head over this way. So apparently, this was built through polished stone. Now, I don't believe they really used any kind of mortar. I think it's just like the cut stone sitting on top of each other, which makes this thing even more incredible. The roofs, of course, were thatched roofs and have long since decayed, so we can pretty much expect that this is pretty much the only part of it that will have survived. The grass is typically short pile grass, and like I said, a lot of these terraces were used for agriculture way back in the day. They only used this structure for about 100 or so years, because at the end of the Incan period is also when the Spanish conquistadors came into South America, and naturally, with their various European diseases, they ended up killing off most of the locals. Not to mention the violence, but we won't go there. Alright, let me check out this sign. Pretty straightforward stuff. Bienvenido, welcome, bienvenue. Alright, cool beans. And I love the fact that it's got those little Narnia lampposts there. That's kind of cool. So there it is. The historic Machu Picchu. No doubt one of the great wonders of the world. And what a great way to see it by Huey. Alright, one more thing I want to show you. And that is this cool little sign over here. There it is. Look at that. That is pretty cool. I believe that says Ciudad del Mundo, City of the World. I could be wrong. Correct me in the comments if I am. But yeah, that's pretty neat. They thought of everything with this one. So I have to give mad props to Frank and Fabio for that. All right. Now, let's head back into the Huey. And I'm not quite lined up, so let me change my view here. There we go. Okay. We'll close the door. And now, for our next act, we are going to be heading down this mountain. We're also going to continue following the river, and there's a little village over there that has a helipad. Now, this helipad is unique to the scenery because it's not like any other helipad. There's no H on the ground. It's actually a soccer field, or football field if you prefer. So let's see if we can bring this bird over there, and once again we're going to go back to the outside view for the takeoff. Okay, looks like we are just about under the clouds, and I'm going to need to make a sharp right turn because here is our little village that we were looking for. You see little buses down there. Everything's static, and whoa, we just lost visibility. Holy crap. All right, well, this is going to get really interesting here. I do know the layout of this area, so I know there's a little bit of a forest to the south, and I believe this is it here. We're going to turn around here while I still have some real estate to do so. Yeah, kids, don't try this at home. Got to watch my vertical speed here to make sure that I'm not falling out of the sky dramatically. And I think I can start to see the football field. Yep, there it is. There it is. Okay, landing on that is going to get interesting, though, so we may need to come around again. So let's slowly but surely pull ourselves around. We don't want to go too far south because there is a mountain there, and that'll end really badly for us. All right, let's give it some collective here before I fall out of the sky. Man, I was not expecting fog in the forecast here today. All right, there's our soccer field, so we'll go ahead and lose all forward momentum, or at least attempt to, and start bringing her down. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. Oh, look at that. We finally broke through the clouds. That was an adventure, folks. Holy crap. All right, let's go to the outside view. We'll do our typical rotate around the aircraft, and then we'll come back in and begin the journey back home. Alright, so I gotta say, I do like this little village here. I kind of wish the weather would cooperate a little bit better with us, but you know, it is what it is, and I did ask for this, so I really can't complain at all. I do notice that a lot of the buildings do tend to be duplicated, but I'm okay with that simply because I know how architecture works, and in many cases, a lot of buildings are similar. I just have to look at my own neighborhood here in Pittsburgh to be able to figure that one out, so I can let that slide this time. All right, but we are going to need to head back, and it's going to be a straight shot. We're not going to stop back at Machu Picchu. We're basically going to backtrack along the course that we took to get here. So we do know that we're going to white out as soon as we take off, but let's see if we can pull this off here. Collective is coming up. Collective is up, and I'm going to point myself in the right direction right away. Get over these houses. All right, now we're gonna need to stay pretty close to the deck here, but the problem is the Urubamba River does tend to go up and down in elevation. So that is something that we're gonna need to pay attention to. It's a nifty little church down there. All right, so we're gonna try and follow the river and the road. And as soon as I see trees popping up, I'm going to hang a left or a right. Wow. Okay, whew. We got a little bit of clearing here. So we're going to stick to the deck. I'm going to try and see if we can make it around this bend without whiting out. I guess it's better than blacking out or redding out. So yeah, there you go. And of course, the trademark for Frank's scenery, Frank and Fabio's scenery, is the fact that they don't use true orthophotos. They use like a hybrid texture that is like orthophoto. It gives that realism to the area, but still it has the fringe benefit of saving some FPS. So aside from like the ruins themselves, where obviously since there's a lot of hard surfaces, that's gonna, you know, cause a little bit more of an FPS drop, this little scenery pack is actually really good. Bear in mind, I'm recording this for you, which that of course is also dropping some FPS, but you know, it is what it is. These are the sacrifices that I have to make in order to bring you a decent showcase video. All right, I think we need to go left here. Yes, we do. What's our speed? 80 knots. Huey's handling nicely. We still have plenty of gas. Our exhaust gas temperature is good. We're not in danger of burning up the engine. You can do that, by the way, just like in DCS, so be careful. Do not manhandle this thing, especially if you have it set to wear and tear mode. Yeah, just be careful, that's all I'm saying. All right, yes, another left turn should be good here. And I'm starting to think that we might be clear of these clouds here for good. So we just need to keep descending a little bit as we make our way around the bend. And I believe this is that short straightaway that we have. Yep, there it is. Okay. So we're doing pretty good. Overall, I have to say I really like this scenery package. As a huge history buff, and even when I was in elementary school, middle and high school, one of the things that I really enjoyed was studying about native cultures. So like the Incas, the Aztecs, the Mayans, I loved hearing about how they lived way back when. And it is absolutely amazing to think about all the hard work that they put into building these structures, however it is that they were able to do it, whether they used slaves or whether you want to go to conspiracy theory and say, oh, the aliens helped them or whatever. Nah, we're not going to do that. But suffice to say, I really enjoy hearing about all of these old civilizations, you know, before the Europeans came in, and, well, we know what happened. So yes, very well done by Frank and Fabio. Very few things to complain about at all with this scenery. Some of the textures, maybe, but other than that, I think that this one is pretty good and a very good challenge as far as flying through mountain regions such as this, especially when you have your weather set to this. Originally, when I was thinking of doing this video, I wanted to do one of two birds. I was either going to do the Bell 222, because of course I showed that before and I really didn't get the chance to take it for a long form flight. The other helicopter that I wanted to show you was the Chinook by X-Trident, because that too is getting closer to release. I still don't have a date as of yet as to when people can expect to be able to purchase it, but suffice to say, a lot of the changes that they've put in there have been very good, and I will at some point in time showcase those changes. But when Nimbus showed up in my email saying that we have a version 1.5 of the Huey, yeah, that was pretty much a no-brainer. I had to do it. I absolutely had to do it. All right, let's go to the outside view really quick. We've got one more straightaway here before we make our left turn back to the village. right, and we are almost home. You can see the little village where we started from, and if you look real close, there's actually a football field down there as well. Now, I don't know why Frank didn't include that as a separate helipad, but we're not going to attempt to land there. We're just going to head back to the airport, which should be off to our left. So, one final turn here. And there we can see that we are almost where we should be. We're at 5,600 feet, so about 100 feet above the elevation of that airport. So I'm thinking we need to pitch nose up. Start slowing down a little bit here because we're at about 70 knots. Whew. All right, so we'll lower the collective. Now, if I were in the Chinook, I would just do a rolling landing, and I actually did do that when I was thinking about using the Chinook for this video. Obviously, since we're in a Huey, we've got skids, so rolling landing, probably not a very good idea. All right, but we do need to lose a bit more forward speed. So let's watch our vertical velocity. We'll keep it around 500 feet per minute descent. We need to really pull up on the collective here, so that way we don't fall out of the sky. All right, there we go. And we're going to aim for the helipad. Radar altimeter says we are now below 100 feet, which is perfect. So there we go. And that is going to basically do it for us today, folks. I sincerely hope that you have enjoyed this little look at Machu Picchu here in Peru. Just to remind you, this scenery is by the mountain maestros, Fabio Bellini and Frank Dianese. It is, of course, PAYWARE. The link will be in the video description below. If you have not yet purchased the Huey, it is also available, and the link for the Nimbus Simulations Huey will also be in the video description below. Just to remind you, the whole point of my showing you this Huey in this particular video is to show you that version 1.50 is coming. Make sure you read the patch notes. There is a lot of stuff that was fixed and some cool new features that have been added. For example, force trim, which I did not quite show you on this video, but you can take my word for it, it works very similar to the DCS Huey. All right, let's plop her down right here. There we go. And that is it, folks. So thank you, as always, for watching. This has been BelGeode. I have been flying in X-Plane 11. This is version X-Plane 11.52. And the aircraft that we've been showing off has been the Nimbus Simulations UH-1H Huey. The scenery again has been Frank Dianese and Fabio Bellini's Machu Picchu. If you enjoy what you've seen, please feel free to give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. And I will be back sometime in the near future with some more X-Plane goodness. Alrighty, folks, enjoy the rest of your evening. Ciao!